Welcome to another episode of Racheal Fosu TV. Today we have with us Miss Liz Rowe. She has been a caregiver and caregave for her grandmother for 2.5 years. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Happy to have you, and I look forward to this conversation.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. Just tell us, who's Liz?
Wow, Liz. Who's Liz? Well, the oldest daughter of immigrant parents.
Right.
Shirley and Gerald, coming from Trinidad and Tobago. And so my mom moved here in 1969. My grandmother as well.
Okay.
But she resided in Brooklyn.
Okay.
And my parents in Morristown, New Jersey.
Okay.
So as my grandmother aged, it was difficult for me, who assumed that rightful position of looking over her, caring for her, making sure she has what she needs.
Right. Now you were the eldest of...
Yes, 7 children.
Right. Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. And so when my grandmother fell and broke her hip, of course,
right,
I stepped right on in,
right,
and brought her down to New Jersey and took care of her. But in the meantime, when she fell and broke her hip, that was like in September, and I'm a teacher as well.
Right.
And when school starts,
right,
you can't call out.
No.
You can't say, well, I'm taking a personal day.
Wow.
So all these things came into play, and I had to do what I had to do.
Wow. What did that look like? What did a day look like? What did a day look like? What time would you wake up in the morning?
4 o'clock.
Right.
And if I had to go into the city, I had to be on the road by 5.
Wow.
Because I call that my early run.
Right.
Meaning less traffic.
Right.
You're able to get there an hour and 10 minutes.
Wow.
So that's what my day looked like. Get to the hospital, look at her, spend the day if I need to, because you need to speak to the caregivers, the doctors, and everyone, and they don't all come in at 8 o'clock.
I know
where
it.
You can say, well, they'll come in and we'll have a conversation and we'll set up a plan and we'll take it from there.
Yeah, you gotta be available for when they show up.
Absolutely.
I live that.
Absolutely.
I live that.
Absolutely.
And it's really weird because you can't plan anything because that's critical at that moment.
That's right.
So you've got to just be there and wait it out and learn their scheures, learn when they're going to show.
Absolutely.
I experienced that.
Absolutely.
And so you would go and do all of that and then come home and still have stuff to do.
Yes. And worry, and not only that, but have concerns about tomorrow again.
Right.
Do I have to take another day off?
Right.
Do I have to call in sick?
Right.
What am I going to do?
Right. Wow.
Again, you do what you have to
do. It one day after the next after the next.
Yes, indeed.
Wow.
Praise God and ask God for protection.
Yeah.
That's
just the ability to put one foot in front of the other.
Absolutely.
Wow.
So He's going to work it out.
Right. Huh.
He's going to work it out.
So you did that, and as you found yourself starting to do that, did you ever say to yourself, geez, I wonder how long I'm going to have to do this for? How long can I keep this up for?
You know, I didn't think of it that way.
Okay.
I just thank God for health and strength.
Right.
Energy.
Right.
And I was able to plan for it. And I'm a person who I take one day at a time.
Okay.
I can't do anything more than that. I'll give it my best shot.
Right.
But I'll take one day at a time.
Right.
And take it from there.
Wow.
You know? And so that's what I did.
Now, how did you manage that financially? How did that work out?
Well, you know, my grandmother was very savvy with spending. You know how we are with Caribbean in the culture. Mm-hmm. You spend $1, you save $1.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
And so I had money, and my grandmother had money. And there was an account. If I needed extra money, then I could just go in and access that money.
Wow. Note to self out there.
Yes.
You have to start planning before something happens. We have to save for those rainy days.
Because those trips back and forth to New York, gas,
costly,
and and toll,
right,
all that, and to make sure she has the food she needs, and
right. And now emotionally, what did that feel like, right? Because here you are, you're caregiving for someone who probably was older than you and you saw as a strong person all along. Now here you are caregiving for this person. What does that feel like emotionally? It kind of like, I think it throws you off a little.
Yes, it does.
What did it do for you?
I think somewhere along the line I said, okay, Lord, why me?
Right,
me?
Right.
Why?
Right.
I really didn't plan on cater for it.
Right.
You know? Sometimes I got up and I generally, prior to that, I would get up, robust, happy.
Right.
But to get up 4 o'clock every day, as soon as that alarm goes off and you know what's ahead of you.
Right.
That was no...
Take some deep strength.
Yes, it does. It does. And not only that, but I was also involved with church.
Right.
Praise and worship, singing and choir. And many of those things I couldn't do. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you don't always want to share with people.
Right.
Because I don't know whether the time doesn't present itself, but I don't know. You sort of want to keep it to yourself to do the best you can with what, whatever.
Yeah, we as caregivers, definitely, you don't see yourself as part of a community.
Yes.
Right? And I think we talked about this a little bit. You don't see yourself as part of a community. No. You see yourself as going through this battle by yourself. So tell us a little bit of a story of how you found a little bit of a network that helped you along the way.
I don't remember how I found Caregivers Coalition, but I think I found it at the point when I really needed it.
Right.
Because I was really low.
Right.
And the people around me were a little bit inconsiderate, like especially when I had to go to choir. When you can't always show up, when you have your grandmother to take care of and to clean, make sure she's clean and tidy.
Right.
You can't go to choir and leave your grandmother in a mess.
Exactly.
So people are sometimes not understanding, or maybe they're not quite there, so they don't have the empathy.
Right. Wow. And it's interesting because I experienced it as a parent, and I used to feel so bad about it. I don't anymore. Because, obviously Dom got sick. Yeah. And I'm trying to handle him. Yes. Handle my kids and all of their activities. Right. Hold down a job. Right. Take care of our business. And it's just a lot. And so I could not be at all the things my kids were doing. And I felt so guilty for so long because I felt like, the other parents must be looking at me like, where's his parents, right? And at some point I had to let that go and say, you know what? People don't fully understand the caregiving experience until they've walked in those shoes.
Absolutely.
And so from one caregiver to another, it's easier to be able to say, I know what you're talking about. But most times before that, we kind of almost have to give them a pass because they just don't know what they don't know.
They don't know.
But you said also that you found a place, I think, in Morristown where you went to. Yes. And tell me what you learned at that place.
I learned about different resources. I learned other people were experiencing similar, if not pretty much the same situation that I was experiencing. I'm like, wow. Right. And so you were able to connect with some people, network with some people, and share. Right. And I found I was so much closer to them.
Right.
Than the outside.
Yeah. Because they really understood. When you're going through that, they really understood. Yes. Now, fast forwarding a little bit, I know you and your husband now own a funeral home.
Yes.
And, we actually met through that, right? And I was saying to you earlier, when you have a loved one who passes away, there is one memory that's for sure etched in your mind, and that is going to the funeral home for the first time, and probably to see them when they're ready to be buried. And that is seared into my mind, but you're on the other side, right? And so you have to welcome people in during what has to be a very difficult time, or maybe even work with people at the end of their caregiving journey as they prepare for what seems to be inevitable.
Exactly.
What does that look like? What does that look like? What do you see in that caregiver's eyes, or that person who has just gone through that experience? What do you see?
You know, my husband and I, we've been married 6 years now.
Right.
And I just joined his team.
Right.
And I do like what I do.
Right.
And it's a ministry for him.
Right.
I know.
Right.
And so it has become a ministry for me as well.
Right.
To be compassionate, to be kind, to be gentle.
Right.
At that moment.
Right.
There's room for nothing else.
Right. Right.
Because that is what is needed at that point. A gentle touch on the shoulder, on the hand.
Right. And I've experienced it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't have to say a word.
Right.
Just a kindness.
Mm-hmm.
Are you okay?
Right.
That's all.
Because they're at their wits' end at that point.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
That is a ministry. I never thought of it that way.
Brennan always says,
yeah,
it's ministry.
It really is.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, I remember that like it was yesterday, and how strongly I felt about certain things. And he must have been sitting across from me going, I've seen this before, you know.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. Very welcome. And even today we get compliments about the team.
Oh, yes.
Work. And it's
you're doing
so
an
many
amazing job for us.
Positive comments.
Yeah.
So
You did an amazing job for us.
You.
Now, let's talk about your faith as a part of this process, right? How have you changed? How has your faith grown? I know it's grown. I know it hasn't receded. How has it grown through this process? And how have you, Liz, become a different person as a result of this experience?
Thank God for faith.
Right.
Amen. And growing faith.
Right.
Because it has to grow.
Yes.
You know, it becomes stronger. There are many times when my grandmother also used a wheelchair.
Okay.
And there are many times her faith was also strong, very strong in faith. And she worshipped in Brooklyn. So even though she was in New York, New Jersey, she wanted to go worship.
Wow.
So sometimes I would take her, and then eventually I networked.
Yeah. Wow.
And some of her congregations, some of the people who belonged to that church lived like in Irvington.
Okay.
So we'd get her up and dress her. And now, you know, where we are on Willow Street, there's sets of stairs to go up to the main door.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, Lord, how am I going to get her down?
Right. Yeah.
And every time I got her ready and I needed help would appear.
Wow.
Yes. I know. I sing my praise and I get up there and praise.
Wow.
Nobody knows. They have no idea. Every time for sure.
Wow.
The Lord will send someone.
Wow. I know it.
To lift her down, either walk her down, bring the wheelchair down.
Wow.
I cannot complain.
Wow.
So when people ask
me,
yeah.
I talk about that in the book, and I really walk people through how my faith grew through the process, and how those kind of angels, I call them, showed up in all these different places that I could never imagine at the most opportune of times. So I understand exactly what you're talking about. Now, let's talk a little bit about, you caregave once, you know, it could be something that you may have to do again.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, we we don't want to think that, but we may need to be caregiving for, right?
Yes.
How do you prepare yourself? If someone's beginning that journey, right, and has never done it before, what advice do you give them? How do you prepare, how would you prepare yourself if you had to do that again?
With every experience.
Right.
I know God has a hand in it.
Yes.
So what I do, I take it, I run with it, I learn from it.
Okay.
Because I know, I can't see the whole picture.
Right.
But I know God has a purpose.
Right. There is always a purpose.
Always a purpose.
Right.
And even yesterday, one of our members who was sick and shut in called me I said, God, you are something else.
Yeah.
I've been praying and lifting this person up. And they called me to ask for help.
Wow.
I'm like,
Wow.
God, you are too awesome.
Wow.
And so that's where I am with that. You learn, you take it, because God is going to use it somewhere else.
Yeah, and that is something you come to learn, right? So as a new caregiver, you're not going to know that. Don't expect to know that.
Right.
It's something that as the experience happens, you learn as you go. You build patience, right? Because I can't say I was the most patient when I started that process, but the level of patience that I learned and built over time now puts me in a position where were I to be, unfortunately, have to do it again, I would be more patient than I was before. I would be more praying than I was before. My faith would be, I would see things that I didn't see then.
Absolutely.
So it really is a journey. And, one that only experience can teach you for the most part, I think.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And it branches off from there.
Right.
It doesn't have to be a direct taking care of being a caregiver.
Directly, right.
But just thinking of what would they like? How can I help them?
Right.
It is the fall. Maybe I can plant a flower out in the front yard. Maybe I can pull up a few weeds.
Right.
Maybe I can just make something pleasant for them because they're not able to do it.
Right.
So there you have it.
Yeah, what you said before about it being a ministry really hit me, because most people don't even think of themselves as caregivers, let alone it being a ministry or, end of life things as being a ministry, but it really is.
Right.
Wow. I love that.
Thanks. We live in such a world where it's all about me, listen. It's all about me. I don't have time for all that. But we are a brother's keeper. We are siblings or friends.
Right. Everyone's keeper. We are each other's keeper. Is there anything that you wanted to ask me or something that you think is important to mention or talk about that I didn't mention that caregivers out there should know or think about or absorb?
There's so much. The impact of juggling work outside of the home and your caregiver's duties, if you would put them that way. It's knowing what to say to the individual, knowing how to encourage them.
It's a big one.
Yes.
It's a very big one.
Those words that you use. Because sometimes you may think something is appropriate. And it's not. It's hurtful because you take it in and you go like, well, what do they really mean by that? It really didn't encourage me. So it's finding the words to say, the right words.
That's a powerful one. Because and I can lift it. You're stressed. You're tired. You're trying to just get everything done.
That's right.
And they're doing something that is not within the plan.
That's right.
And your inclination is to just say something brash. And so to be measured in that moment and make sure you're saying the right things that are uplifting in and of itself is a big challenge during that point in time. So that's a great one. Now tell me a funny story to close up. Tell me something funny, that you may think of when caregiving that comes to mind. Something, for me, I tell stories about how my husband would have these crazy episodes where he wanted to be independent and would jump out of cars on the highway and stuff like that. But I don't know if there's one that comes to mind.
My grandmother had a sense of humor as well. And, if my grandmother is going up and down the stairs, if she, at that point where she was able to, she'd say, just be careful. I said, no, you be careful.
Imagine that the person you're carrying.
No, you be careful, okay?
But that's the thing, right? Their personalities come out.
Sure.
And I was saying to someone else before, even though they are ill, and sometimes the medication or whatever else may dull some of what their personality is, or the illness itself. It's heartwarming when you can think back to their personality popping out.
Right.
Like with flowers.
Right.
Here and there, I think it ends up giving you warm memories.
Absolutely. And the funny thing is, my grandmother and I had a wonderful relationship. Again, being the oldest.
Right.
And I have to say I was highly favored by my grandparents. My siblings would.
Yeah, why
should they like you like that? Why should they?
Right.
What about me? They loved us all. But there's some, Caribbean again.
Right.
There's something they can look into your face and tell you, well, you will give me a cup of tea.
Yes.
When I need it.
Yes, they do know.
They know. And so that's the way that's
right.
my birthright.
Right.
If you want to put it that way.
Hey.
So we had a great relationship, so that continued throughout.
Nice.
The caregiving era, if you want to put it.
Yeah, well, I'm sure she, as you told me, would just look at you, and I'm sure she blessed you then, and I'm sure she continues to bless you. So, thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure.
Same here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching another episode of Racheal Fosu TV. If you liked what you saw, please subscribe to the channel. We would love to feature and hear about your caregiver story. Submit it at rachealfosu.com. Thank you for watching. See you out there. Bye.